Welcome to Murders and Monsters. Before we begin today, a brief warning. Contents may be disturbing and language may be explicit and inappropriate for young listeners. So listener discretion is advised. I swear I can't never get that together. Hey guys, it's Marie.
What's up? It's Shelby.
Okay, guys. Well, it's Shelby's week, so she has got a case for us today. Shelby?
All right, so let's just go ahead and dive in. Today we're going to talk about the Gilgo Beach murders.
Oh, fun.
For around 2 decades, the sands and marshes of Long Island Gilgo Beach kept a dark secret. A killer or killers roamed the locality, luring in escorts and sex workers and brutally murdering them. Body after body was dumped along the shoreline, hidden for months and even years without ever being discovered. Then in 2010, a chilling 911 call made by a woman in fear for her life led police to search the area over the next year. The remains of 11 victims, mainly female escorts, were discovered, dumped in the area, plunging the Suffolk County community into terror.
Mm.
The case began in May of 2010 when Shannon Gilbert, who was a 23-year-old Craigslist sex worker, she called 911 for help, saying that she feared for her life. In the call, she explained she was with a client and she, quote, was going to die.
Mm.
Gilbert is heard repeatedly telling the 911 operator that, quote, somebody's after me.
Wow.
Yeah. In the TMZ documentary I watched, it said that the call was 22 minutes long and they shared bits of the call. They didn't share the whole 22 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, you can hear Shannon running and then losing connection while on the phone with 911.
Yeah.
It was said that the call was traced, which led the officers to the area where the phone line went dead. So towards the end, I say it sounds like she was running, and that's what it sounded like to me. That's my opinion,
Okay.
because you just kind of hear a bunch of like rushing sounds and like
Right.
wind and just as if she was running away from something.
Right. And she kind of sort of sounded out of breath, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little distorted, but I
Right.
obviously, like, I don't really know much about, when they listen to these calls, how much goes through, I don't really know much about that.
Sure.
She is also heard arguing with a man who she refers to as Mike, who appears to be trying to encourage her to get back into a car. At one point, she is heard asking if he is, quote, going to kill her.
Oh, wow.
Now, according to the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the 911 call was released to them to analyze, as well as other evidence that was not detailed. I don't know what else they had, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously something. And the review of the case is that, and this was from the FBI, this statement, it says Shannon's death is not consistent with her being the victim of violence or of a violent offender. I don't know exactly how true that is. Obviously, that was an old article that I pulled that information from.
Uh,
So I don't know. They obviously are trained to listen to these types of calls. To me, I have a couple questions here, right? So the
sure.
call was 22 minutes long.
Right.
And if she's, in this whole 22 minutes, because obviously in the documentary they're going to hold the pieces like, oh, he's going to kill me, and somebody's after me, I'm going to die. These
Yeah.
these little things. That's what they're going to focus on to show off in the documentary.
Right.
What else was said in those 22 minutes? Was anything said? Was she hiding? Were they, trying to help her get out of this whatever situation she was in? I just have so many questions, and 22 minutes is a long time. So
Right.
I mean, did they not dispatch anybody until the line went dead? It's just weird, right?
It is very weird. And for them to say that they didn't feel like she was in danger, well, then why did she call? Why did she say somebody's going to kill me? Why did it sound like she was running?
And
Or
numerous times at that. Like she made these comments several
exactly.
times. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know how often do you get, this is my question. How often do you get a 911 call where somebody says somebody's trying to kill me and it sounds like they're
Yeah.
running? Does that happen a lot? And if it
Right.
does,
It's
really?
just it was
That's
just one of
odd to
those
me.
things that really, really stumped me.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's very odd.
and 22 minutes, I mean, a lot can happen in 22 minutes. And who's to say And now, granted, I have no idea what was, kind of going on in the whole call. I tried to find just
Sure.
the released call,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, and even if I did pull it from the documentary to just show our listeners,
Yeah.
you still have little bits that are coming from the documentary that interfere with listening to the actual call itself. So,
It's not like
and
the actual 911 call. The whole thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
like it's just like little bits and pieces that they release
Sure.
just
Yeah.
to let you just kind of hear a little bit of it. It's not enough to, I mean, it's probably
Russ.
like 20 seconds left,
Right.
like it's not
Right.
a
Right.
lot, but
Yeah.
it's just really strange.
And when you think about it in the grand
Super
scheme
red
of
flag.
absolutely. And when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like 22 minutes, that's almost half an hour that this person is on the phone trying desperately to find some kind of help according to
Mm-hmm.
the things that they let you actually hear from the 911 call. I mean, when you're in a life or death situation like that, 30 seconds is a long time, let alone
Absolutely.
22 minutes. I mean, that's a super, like you said, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just red flags all over the place, right?
Right, 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 right.
So I'm not sure.
Mm.
By the spring of 2011, the remains of a total of 10 victims had been found, including 8 women, a man, and a toddler.
Oh
So the
God.
reason why the police were dispatched into the area after the call from Shannon Gilbert, they were looking for her, right?
Sure. Yeah.
After this 911 call. So they based it off of where the phone line went dead, where they lost connection between her and 911, correct?
Okay.
So it led them to the discovery of all of these people.
So they found
That's
all of
almost
those at the same time?
well within the around she went missing in May of 2010 and by the
Okay.
spring of 2011. So
Oh, I see. I see. I see.
roughly about a year.
I got you. I got you.
They were searching the area and found all of these missing people.
Okay. Okay.
The first victim found was Melissa Barthélemy, whose remains were discovered on the north side of Ocean Parkway on December 11th of 2010 during the search for Shannon Gilbert.
Hmm.
2 days later, on December 13th, the remains of 3 other victims, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello, were found close by. All 4 women were known to advertise escort services on Craigslist. These women were known as the Gilgo Four. And
Wow.
I couldn't really find out why they named them the Gilgo Four. The only thing
Hmm.
that I could really piece together why they got this nickname, I don't know if they were affiliated with one another by any means,
Right.
but I'm assuming because they found them so close together and they were the
Right.
first victims that were found in this area.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's what I can just assume.
Okay.
But Shannon Gilbert's body was not found until December of 2011. So remember, she was last seen on May 1st of 2010. So well over a
Wow.
year, she was missing
Yeah.
and
That,
gone.
that was like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Damn.
So her cause of death is widely contested with authorities, claiming that it is not connected to the serial killer or killers, but that she died from an accidental drowning as she fled from the client's home or car. There are some inconsistencies in my research with her, just because one report would say that she was actually in his house when she made the phone call and she ran out of the house through the woods, and that's why you hear the running. But
Yeah.
then in the TMZ documentary, it says that she was talking about um, replying to this Mike, quote unquote,
Hmm.
that he's trying to encourage her to get back in the car. So I'm not really sure where she was actually at, why she was running. There's
Okay.
just so many inconsistencies.
Okay.
However, an independent autopsy commissioned by her family ruled that she died by strangulation, and her mother believes that she was murdered. We all know about the mother's instinct.
I mean, right?
So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like a gut feeling, right?
Sure.
She just feels that something's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really, really strange, and then to find her body within the same area you found all these other missing bodies. Mm,
Okay. So if my understanding is correct, where all these bodies were found, it is close to the water. Am I
yeah.
right? Okay.
Hmm.
But like what I guess my question is, was she what were any of them buried or were they just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, so in their search, they're searching for Shannon, which is
Okay.
the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
reason why they brought themselves to this area to start looking for her, right?
Okay.
Is because when she called 911, she's you can hear her running and then the phone line goes dead
Okay.
somewhere along this, coast.
Right.
And from what I can gather, it's basically just a long stretch. It's an island, there's water and then there's a
Yeah.
bunch of like wooded areas, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I guess she might have been running through there. I don't know exactly the location, but it prompted the cops to start looking and investigating in this area.
Okay.
So once they start digging around, start snooping, then they start finding all these bodies. And
Okay.
previously, it throughout their whole search, they found 11 with her included. They found 11.
Holy shit.
So this was just over time
Right. So, and this was in 2010, is that what you said?
when she
So,
went missing. Yes.
right. And she was on a cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So were they actually pinging her phone? Is that where how they found her location, or was she actually able to tell them where she was?
I'm assuming they were pinging it. I don't
Okay.
She may
Okay.
not have exactly known where she was
I see.
because there again, there's inconsistencies because I don't know if she was in the car. If she was in the car, was she, tied up? Was she in the trunk? Did she escape? If
I
she
see.
was in the house, did he blindfold her? I don't know for sure if she ever said where it was that she was at
I see.
per
I see.
se.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm assuming they pinged her cell phone. In
Right.
my research, I actually I didn't even think about that being a possibility, but I don't know if they found her belongings, which that could have been part of the evidence that was sent to the FBI
I got
where
you.
they looked at everything.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
some of this stuff sounds kind of sketch to me.
Right.
So when I was like reading this, I was just like, you find all these bodies, like that's a lot of people. Like nobody reported these people missing. And
Right.
unfortunately, it took this one person to call 911 to lead them to this area.
Yeah.
But, this is that's a lot of people. That's a
It
lot
is
of
a
bodies.
it is a lot of people, but unfortunately, in the line of work they were in, there's not always people who will actually report them missing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not that I know anything about that kind of business or anything like that, but from what I have learned over time with true crime and things like that, when you get into a situation like they are, um, it's just not as reported, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
sad to
know.
say, but you know,
Right.
so
But on the other hand, these people do have families. They do have at least somebody somewhere that cares about them.
you would
So
think
it's
so,
just,
yeah,
yeah, it's really hard.
yeah, yeah.
So moving on to a little bit more about some of the victims that were found.
Okay.
Um, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, which was one of the Gilgo Four, she was last seen alive in early of June 2007 in New York City, while
Oh
Amber
wow.
Costello was last seen leaving her North Babylon home one day in early September of 2010. Megan Waterman was last seen alive in early of June 2010 at a Holiday Inn Express.
Hmm.
Then 7 months later, on July 26th of 2011, the remains of Jessica Taylor were found in a wooded area. So these are all just the victims. I felt like it was necessary to talk about them.
Absolutely.
She worked as an escort from New York City. Valerie Mack was another name that came up, who was also an escort, but she was last seen alive in Philadelphia in 2000. Her remains were found on two separate occasions in Manorville in 2000 and then in Old Beach in 2011, which were the remains that they found on Gilgo Beach. Unfortunately, she was actually not identified until 2020 through the use of genetic genealogy.
Wow. So what so from what I gather from what you have just told me,
Mm-hmm.
this like this goes all the way back to 2000. Like because there was a 2000 and
So,
2007,
so,
2010. Sorry.
so, spoiler alert, it actually goes all the way back to 1996.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. It actually just wasn't until Shannon made the call
That
That,
all this
like
came
I said,
together?
right. That
Wow.
so
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, you're talking a span of 11 years at that point,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So now, as of August 4th of this year, 2023,
Okay.
officials announced that another victim, who was only known as Jane Doe number 7, had also been identified. Her name is Karen Regatta. She was 34 and she was last seen alive in Manhattan in 1996 while working as an escort.
Wow.
It's so sad that so much of her life she was just known as Jane Doe, you know.
That's
It just
awful.
it breaks my heart, you
That's
know. It's just so
yes.
sad.
Yeah.
But it gets worse.
Oh,
So
awesome. Great. Yeah.
her legs were first found wrapped in plastic at Davis Park on the Fire Island Blue Point, which I'm assuming is like another little like random little beach, like a little
Right.
island
Yeah.
in 1996.
Mm.
Almost exactly 15 years later, on April 11th of 2011, her skull was found off Ocean Parkway, more than 20 miles from where her legs were found, which was close to some of the other Gilgo Beach victims.
Okay. Question. Can I have 1 second?
Yeah.
So, with you saying that, were all of the remains found, were they all dismembered
So
or
to
were just some of them dismembered?
so to my knowledge, as far as my research can tell, and the biggest unfortunately of it all is that there's still so much about this case that's coming out.
Right.
And I mean, she was just identified this year, you know, so she's been
Right.
Jane Doe since 2011.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I don't know for sure, but
Right.
as far as I can tell, it seems like only two that were out of the 11 that were found were dismembered and their bodies were found in separate parts
Mm.
of, you know,
Okay.
islands and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other ones were found, I'm assuming, together. I am not 100% certain on that.
That is so odd to me because
Strange.
normally, yeah, it is very strange because normally, the progression of a serial killer is he figures out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he figures out when he starts, the best
It's
way
like
to
an
get rid of it.
experiment.
Yeah, and they progress as they go
Mm-hmm.
on, right? So if he dismembered the first ones and then didn't some of the last ones, I mean, it just goes to figure that he realized that he didn't have to go through all that trouble,
Yeah, you know,
right?
and that's basically like serial killer book 101, right? Like
Right,
you
right.
progress over time and you don't necessarily degress
Exactly.
unless maybe your health doesn't allow you to. Maybe you were hurt, you still want to go through with your sick acts,
Mm,
but you
mm,
don't have the capabilities anymore of going through certain things. So these are probably things that went in through the detectives and investigators' minds,
right.
but it just kind of seems like a lot. So I'm probably assuming this is where the, you know, first thought of maybe multiple killers came up.
I
Maybe
see.
it was like
I
they
see. I see. Okay.
actually that's actually my next statement. So authorities have
Okay.
previously stated that they believe that there are three separate serial killers that could be responsible for the slayings over a period of around 20 years because of the inconsistencies in the bodies that they found, right?
Mm, yeah.
So I mean, when you're talking about body parts being over 20 miles apart, then that means that I mean, well, yeah, I think this was also on a beach too. I don't know necessarily the area. I've never been through there, but I don't know about hurricane weather. Maybe like severe weather came through and it could have washed the
Sure.
bodies apart. I don't know for sure, but
I mean, I
there's probably other
guess.
things to kind of take into consideration.
Well, I mean,
But
sure.
it was just a shock, you know, to this little community, right?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I understand. I can follow you on, like you said, there was two of them that were dismembered. I can follow you on there might have been
Mm-hmm.
um a different killer on those two than the other ones
Mm-hmm.
because you said her legs were found in a park and then her skull was found 20 miles away, so
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But with the other ones that were all found on Gilgo Beach or whatnot, if they weren't
Mm-hmm.
dismembered per se, It would seem like, to give the investigators a little bit of credit, that maybe you would think that it would probably be two different people
Yeah,
because it's just two different MOs, right?
right. It's totally different.
Right.
It's just really strange. Like the more and more that I kind of dug deep into this, I was just the more and more confused I got.
Right.
Right.
I got you.
And even more so that it's 2023, there hadn't been arrests all these years, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we're all wondering, why weren't there any arrests? Why didn't nobody find anybody? It's
Right.
just such a small community. Why are all these bodies being found?
Yeah.
Again, they're Craigslist escorts, but that doesn't mean that they're not people.
No,
Nobody's reporting these people missing. Nothing. That's how they went unheard of for so long. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. And it's not like it was back in the 70s or 80s. I mean, with the capabilities that we have nowadays, and you said like 2010, 2011,
Mm-hmm.
even 2007, cell phones were a thing then. I mean, you were able
Yeah.
to keep in touch with people.
Right.
It's just really odd that it has taken this long to find
Mm-hmm.
somebody to attribute this to, especially
Mm-hmm.
with DNA, familial DNA. What was the other
Right.
thing that you said?
Genealogy.
Genetic genealogy, stuff like that. You would have thought
Yeah.
that something would have come before now. I mean, I'm glad it came
Right.
now, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
you
But
would think that they would have had some kind of capabilities to look before
now,
this. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, as of July 13th of 2023, so yes, just a matter of a couple months ago,
yeah.
a man named Rex Hewerman is identified and charged with the murder of 3 out of the 4 Gilgo 4. So they were able to attach his something. They were able to link something to him for those 3.
Wow.
And from what I gathered and out of the TMZ documentary,
Mm.
what they did was when they asked him for a DNA sample, like out of his mouth. Like, I don't know if that means
Saliva
like,
sample. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
and I guess he refused. And when he refused, I don't know the extent to what they did, but as far as I know, they found like a pizza box that he had
Hmm.
and was able to get his DNA there.
Like off a piece of pizza?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
obviously, I'm assuming the reason behind all of that is they had some information, evidence, something linking him, but they
Right.
just needed that hard evidence, right?
Okay.
So they were able to charge him for the murder of the 3 out of the 4. So I don't know what that means for the fourth.
Okay.
I know that he is linked as a potential suspect for the fourth victim, but unfortunately, he has not been charged with that murder yet.
Okay.
He was arrested in New York City, where he worked as an architectural consultant, and he was charged with murder and the death of 3 of the 4 Gilgo 4 women.
Excuse me.
He has pleaded not guilty in the killings of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello, which is the 3 that he was charged with murder.
Mm.
It is said that he was first identified as a potential suspect in early 2022, shortly after a multi-agency task force
Mm.
was informed to examine cold cases involving nearly a dozen sets of human remains that were found in Long Island. The ones that they found in 2011, I hate to put it like this, but basically it was like a huge cover up. And we're going to get into that in just a minute, but it
Okay.
was basically like nobody worked the case, so it became a cold case. So they had
Wow.
just reopened all of this in 2022
Yeah.
and started revisiting all of this information and everything, because regardless of the fact, I mean, these were still bodies that were found and these were somebody's family. They
Sure.
need answers, right?
Right.
So this case is so recent. There's just so much information, documents, evidence, everything that is only now just being unleashed nearly daily, I might add.
Yeah.
So I will comment that there are things that or claims against the chief of police that was back in 2010 that are quite chilling.
Okay.
So a former escort had come out and told the Suffolk County Police that she accused James Burke, who was the chief of police. I couldn't say that. The chief of police back then, who
Okay.
forced her into rough oral sex before throwing money at her at a cocaine fueled party. So, from what I understand about this guy, is he liked to party it up. He was married. I think he had kids. I'm not really sure about that,
Yeah.
but he was the chief of police and he was not acting like it. I
Yeah.
mean,
He was doing the
he,
damn thing.
yeah, I mean, like
Wow.
he was contacting escorts, he was fighting publicly, he would get drunk and act disorderly. I mean, he was just something else.
Yeah, he was abusing all the office he had.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he was the chief of police from 2010 to 2015 and was suspected of impeding the FBI's investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders, as other law enforcement officials have accused him of blocking his department's cooperation. The FBI was invited in when the Gilgo Beach murders were being investigated,
Mm.
and he basically said, "No, I don't need you here. We got this."
Because he didn't want his shit to be
Red
found
flag,
out.
like
Yes.
red flag, red
I mean,
flag.
wave it, baby, wave it,
you
because
know,
that is some
because
crazy stuff right there.
now, granted, I have never been in law enforcement. I don't know the exact trainings you have to go through, especially to be the chief of police. But
Yeah, but
if you find this many bodies in your small community and you don't want extra help in finding out who is behind all this, who's responsible for this, that's a red flag.
I mean, absolutely it is, because that's your job. I mean, that is like from A to Z, that is your job, is to
Yeah,
find out what is happening to the people that you are finding unalived in your community.
right,
I
right.
mean, that is like, what would you, that's class 101 or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's
Yeah.
that's
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 like,
police training 101.
there you go. I mean, and that, I mean, that's like the whole point.
Find out who done it.
I mean, exactly. Jeez.
It is said that Burke has tried to corrupt the investigation when the bodies were being discovered and that he was in cahoots with Hewerman, I mean, however true that is, it's unclear. There were rumors I read in several different articles that said that Hewerman and Burke were really close, that they were friends. I
Hmm.
don't know that for sure because I mean, some of this stuff you never know what to believe anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just all over the place. So I
Yeah.
don't know that for sure, but we do know that in small towns, I just knocked my mic, in small towns, small areas, communities, whatever,
Yeah.
a lot of times people with money or connections or
Mm,
what they feel like is power, they kind of
sure.
find themselves with the other people that have money, power, et
Influence. Right.
cetera.
Sure.
And they tend to go into, business together.
Right.
I mean, we can't deny that. It happens every day.
Sure. It happens
And I'm
everywhere.
not yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that happens, all the time and in just small communities. It probably happens in big communities too,
It happens
But
everywhere. We all know that.
and I'm not knocking the law enforcement at all by any means. But this all seems a little sus, right?
It only takes one bad apple to make the whole department look bad. And with him going out
Right.
there and him acting a fool and all that kind of stuff, it just makes it just puts so many questions in people's minds
Mm-hmm.
that it just makes you look sus as hell. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and did you find in your research that there was some kind of connection between him and Rex Huerman, whatever, whatever?
No, not hard evidence.
Okay, okay. So it's
There
just
there
rumors that they knew each other.
Yes.
Okay,
So I don't know that for sure,
okay,
but if it is to come out and be true, I'm sure we'll find out more in months to come because since he was just arrested, Rex was just arrested in July,
yeah,
and I'll say that later. But Rex was just arrested in July, so there are so many things that are coming out about everything,
right,
because he's
right,
only connected right now to just 3.
yeah,
But
and
there were
suspected
11
of the fourth.
bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there
Gotcha.
were
Gotcha.
11 bodies that were found. So there's still a
Wow.
lot that needs to be dug up and looked over and researched and everything. But
Yeah.
I'm thankful that he was charged at least with three. So they have him in custody. So whatever they need to do to figure out the rest,
Yeah.
I hope that they find the information that they need.
Right. Well, at
Right.
least they have an opportunity with him in custody and everything. At least they have the opportunity to be able to do the testing and stuff that they need to do at this point.
Yeah. And I
So,
will add that whenever they did arrest him, they got like his computer,
yeah.
and there were like over 200 web searches, and it was like frequent that he was looking up information about the Gilgo Beach murders. Like he was almost like trying to,
Do you see my red flag right here?
yeah,
Yeah.
like he was trying to almost like keep up with what was going on. So again, I'll say that it wasn't until last year in 2022
hmm
when they really started to dig into like the cold cases and everything, which is what
Right.
police departments do, right? Like on
Yeah.
cold cases,
hmm
eventually if a new team comes in, they'll, sometimes the task force, they'll assign them this, go through this, see what you can find, see if you can solve it, da 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 da.
Right. Right.
So that's the, it's just a lot that's just unveiling over time. So
Yeah.
I'm sure within like a year, maybe even two, like the more that comes out, the more that's researched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot more is going to come out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is just the beginning. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although Burke was forced to resign after the 2015 discovery that he was involved in sexual acts at parties, enforcing cocaine, public indecency, fighting, etc.,
Mm.
if what my research provides is in fact true, he was arrested as recent as August 23rd of this year, just a couple weeks ago,
Oh,
for soliciting sex with an undercover Lone Park Ranger.
wow.
So, even though he was arrested for something quite similar in 2015, which is why he was asked to resign,
He's still doing it.
he's still doing it. So,
Well, that's sketchy as
mm,
hell.
here's my red flag.
There. I swear to God, we've got to get us some made so that whenever we start putting this on YouTube, we
I
can start waving
know,
our little red flags because
because
it's one after another. I swear to God.
and on our Facebook group, I'm going to include a couple pictures of both Rex and Burke. Burke mostly just because that he was a police chief, and there's just a lot with him. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen a picture of him, but he looks like a dirty old man. Like he really does. Like he just looks like one of those that
Yeah.
he lives up to the stereotype. Okay,
I got you.
he just lives up to it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right,
What's
so going back to
what is
oh
his name?
sorry,
James Burke?
James Burke.
Okay. I'm just gonna look up a picture of him real quick. Go ahead.
So James Burke admitted that he roughed up suspect Christopher Loeb. So back in 2012, the police did interview Christopher Loeb because they assumed that he was like one of those. Did you find a picture?
I did. I just found I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, yeah, he does.
But
Wow.
so
Okay.
Christopher Loeb was named a suspect in 2012, but he was quickly just kind of eliminated. They didn't have any evidence linking him to any of the victims. But from what I understand is that he was just one of those like troublemaking kids.
Okay.
He was just in trouble a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming that that's just why they kind of like was trying to tie things to him. I
Okay.
didn't really find anything with him on any of the victims. I could be wrong because there's just so many conflicting things and conflicting truths. I
Yeah.
try to find everything I can about like actual court cases because
Right.
that's what's going to pull the true information,
Right.
but there's just so much coming out, and so many quote unquote people are saying that they know him or knew him back then. Like it's a lot.
That's a lot of
So
hearsay. Yeah.
yeah, it is. So um but James Burke actually fought Christopher Loeb because he thought that Chris took his six stash of sex goodies, and I don't know.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're gonna
Yeah,
say that again. He thought that Chris took his stash of
set.
sex goodies.
Yeah, what that means, I don't really want to know.
I'm confused. Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't. I don't. Mm-mm. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Burke also fled from a drunk wreck back then too. So he was like drinking all the time. I mean, like he was just like something serious,
It sounds
man.
like he
Like
was living his best damn life. You know what I'm
really, I
saying? He
mean,
had all the
there
power.
was yeah, there was
Yeah.
so much about him. He's just something. Okay, he is
Yeah.
something.
Sounds like it.
So to top it off, Burke allegedly did a bare bones investigation into the Gilgo Beach case, which bare bones basically means that he went solo. He didn't have any backup. He was just trying to do this and solve it all on his own.
Or
This is
was
11,
he?
11 bodies, okay? Let
Yeah.
me just paraphrase 11 bodies. Like, I'm not knocking you for trying to do your job if that's what you're doing, but
That,
that's
yeah,
a
but
lot of evidence to go through and search through just for yourself,
that
right?
sounds, yeah, but that sounds sus as hell to me. Why do you want to do it by
Oh, yeah.
yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why though? Because you don't want nobody else to know what you're doing? You want to hide some stuff? What? No, ma'am. No, no,
Yeah.
ma'am. Mm-mm.
So again, he blocked out the FBI and other agencies while trying to work on this gruesome discovery.
Yeah.
So he kept people were like interested in this because it's just so bizarre to
Of
find that many
course.
bodies,
Yeah.
especially all within a year and a half of one phone call. One phone call started all of this. And
Yes.
who's to say, bless her heart, you know, if she never called, if Shannon never called, would these people have been found?
Probably not.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
probably
Like
not.
that's the
Yeah.
truth of behind all of this. Had she had not called and, you know, God rest her soul that she had to die for this, but you know, she just she led the investigation to find other women that fell victim of somebody, whether it was Rex, Burke, whoever,
Right.
you
And
know?
in the way that, yeah, because what she did in that phone call was basically flip the light switch, whether she knew it or
Yes.
not, because apparently, I mean, obviously she did not, but
Mm-hmm.
what she did was flip the light switch and actually bring investigation into this area that led to finding these other bodies when nobody else would have ever probably looked. And if they had, they probably wouldn't have looked that deeply to be
Right.
able to find
Right.
11 bodies to connect together. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I
And
mean,
just to throw this in there as just a little extra commentary,
yeah,
um, the family lawyer or family attorney for Jessica Taylor and Shannon Gilbert, which was two of the people that were found
yeah,
and that were labeled as like part of the Gilgo Beach killings.
yeah.
So his name is John Ray, and he commented in one of the articles I read
Mm-hmm.
that quote Burke made it his domain to basically take over that investigation. Like, basically, nobody else can touch this. It's just mine. I don't need any help from the FBI. I don't need any help from any other outdoor agencies. Like, I don't need anything. Just let me do it. Mm,
Mm,
it's a
mm,
ride at Six Flags, baby. Like, this is
mm, no,
some
no. So,
some main driving.
with that being said, how are they attributing it to Rex and not have anything to do with him? I mean, did they find
So,
Rex's
at,
DNA and not Burke's? I mean, what are we working
I'm
with here?
assuming it was Rex's DNA, and that is why
Okay.
they needed to dig in the trash and get his leftover pizza.
Right. This. Yeah. Okay. 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 Okay.
So his DNA was on the victims. Now,
Okay.
obviously, I don't know a thing about a thing yet, but
Okay.
if you want my theory here,
Sure.
my theory is that they were in cahoots together, and because Rex had a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
and the James Burke, he just had a lot of power. So both those
I
just
see.
kind of went hand in hand, right?
I
So
see.
as
Mm-hmm.
as conniving, manipulative, just a jerk is what James Burke sounds like.
Right.
Based on what I found out about him, he disregarded women. He didn't care for them. He would get in fights. He was a drug addict. Let's be honest. I mean, he's
Okay.
cocaine fueled and ready to go, right?
Right.
And he's a drunk. So I just think that his rage and Rex's, ability, I'm assuming he was rather charming back in this time.
I've
Not so
seen a
much
picture of him, and that's an ick for me.
very, but I get it. Like
But
a
with his
lot of
money,
times,
you know what I'm saying? Especially with a
yeah,
escort situation. Yeah, I see what you're
they
saying.
could cover up a lot
Hmm.
together. They could be,
Sounds like, ooh, I almost said it and that was not going to sound right. But it sounds like a uh partnership made in hell, if you understand
yeah.
what I mean.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Allegedly. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we don't know, right?
Right, right.
And in that TMZ documentary, that's where I found a lot of stuff about James Burke.
Right.
And again, in that documentary, because it was so recent, like it came out in August. So if you have Hulu, I definitely recommend watching that.
What's the name of it?
Um,
Do you remember?
I, yeah, it's in my resources.
Okay.
I'll sort that. I'll
Uh,
say that at the end.
yeah.
But uh, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. So it
It's okay.
was, I got it. Missing Warning Signs. It's a documentary on
Yes.
Hulu. Yeah,
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah, that was on my next thing,
Yeah.
my other notes page. But
Sorry. Sorry.
you're fine. In that documentary, it said a lot about Burke and everything, but
Hmm.
when so it was like reporters. I don't know how to describe it. It was like basically reporters, and you could just kind of see them talking amongst each other and like investigating, and, trying to find out their own information and everything
Right.
about this stuff. And they went to Burke's house, and obviously this came out before August because, like I said, I if what I read was true, he just got arrested a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So it's like they went up to his house, but he would not answer. He declined to talk to the TMZ reporters.
Okay.
So he was arrested back then, and it's assumed that he's been quote unquote laying low, whatever that means. I don't know.
Okay.
But a little further on Rex, Rex actually has a family. He has a wife and children, and it was said that his wife and kids were actually out of town while he supposedly committed these crimes. They
That's a
have
lot of
family.
times to be out of town.
They have a lot of family that was out of town, and if I understood correctly, I think that there was a sick family member, so the wife would just take the kids and be gone for a month or so at a time. And
Wow.
either maybe he traveled some too.
Okay.
That's probably how he got people in Pennsylvania, New York. I again
Pause.
hearsay.
Pennsylvania, New York.
Yeah.
There are bodies there as well.
No, remember, and earlier on, the some of the people that I listed off, they were missing from
Oh,
Pennsylvania
I
and
see.
New
I see. I
York.
see. I see. Okay. I'm sorry.
They were
Okay.
found in Gilgo Beach.
Okay. I see. I see. I'm sorry. I was confused. Okay.
You're fine. You're fine. But as of August of this year, the
Hmm.
wife commented very, very little on everything. She claims to not have any idea of what's gone on.
Okay.
There was one video I found of her, but I have not been able to find it since. So I don't know if that means that it was taken down, but it was like she was hysterical. Like she was just in disbelief that any of this had ever happened, especially striking so close to home.
Right.
But she has since filed for divorce.
Shocker. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So my opinion is it seems that Rex has been living like a double life, with
Okay.
one filled with this hatred and murder and disregard for human women and disrespect for women, while having a family, which, if any of us know anything about true crime, that's nobody's going to look at somebody with a family.
It's a
That's not
good
what you're going to
cover.
suspect.
Right. It's a good
A
cover.
wife and kids and
Right.
successful career,
Sure.
green flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, to me, it is unclear what his intentions were with all of these victims, as in, why did he kill them? What was it about them? What made him tick? And if he is linked to the one, like dating all the way back to 1996 here,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
there could be more, and we have no idea because that's a long stretch of time. And even
Absolutely.
from, and then you're talking about another 12, 13 years from 2010, 2011 to now,
Yeah.
you know? So they didn't find him then, they just found him now. Did he stop?
Right.
You know, there's just, I have a lot of questions. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't think that I'm going to get any answers, and we're not going to have any answers together until more information is disclosed to the public.
Sure.
I'm sure they found out a lot more that they just haven't released yet.
Oh yeah, I'm positive they have. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, earlier I stated that out of all the women that went missing, there was also a man and a toddler. I did everything I could to find out more information about them, but I unfortunately could not find anything. I don't
Okay.
know if they're listed as like, a John Doe, and I don't
Baby
know what the
doe. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what the toddler was. I don't know if it was one of the women that were found. I don't know if it's one of theirs or anything. I don't I
That's so
tried I
sad.
I tried to find stuff, but I'm sure over time a lot more is going to be disclosed, and
Yeah.
we'll, keep our listeners posted every so
Right.
often when we find out more.
Sure.
Um so for further commentary, I will say in the documentary again on Hulu by TMZ, I know I keep going back to that, but it had a lot of good information.
Mhm.
It said that Amberlyn Costello, and I for the life of me cannot remember if it said it was her cousin or if it was just a roommate. So for now, I'm just going to leave it at roommate. But it said that she had a roommate that noticed that she was being dropped off one night by a man, and this was supposedly like the last time she was seen alive.
Okay.
But she was being dropped off by a man who drove a black Chevy. This is what Rex drove.
Yeah.
Okay. He mentioned it to be the last time she was seen alive, and he was also aware of her services. He knew that she was an escort.
Yeah.
The roommate says that they came into their house, and he describes the man as Rex. He identified him, said that that's what his name was. Um, Said that him and Rex got in some kind of altercation. I don't know what was exactly said, but he just kind of made it out to be that, you know, Rex was being rough on Amber, like grabbing her real aggressively and just talking down on her,
Yeah.
basically being like inhumane to her, like
Like mean to
awful.
her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
awful.
Yeah.
And so I guess the roommate stepped in and he was like, "Hey, you're not going to talk to her like that, da 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 da."
Yeah.
And him and Rex got into some kind of altercation. They started arguing back and forth. They got into a fight, and then they got into a fight on the inside, and it ended up outside. And then Rex and Amber took off. Amber said, "I'll see you later when I come home."
So she left with him after that?
Yes. So
Oh.
supposedly, this was the last time that Amber was found or seen alive. Now, from what I understood, it said that he went to the and I didn't get his name, but he went to the police and
Mhm.
said everything that had happened.
Yeah.
I got into a fight. This is with who. I haven't seen her since, such and such, and this is what
Yeah.
he was driving. Just all that information. And Burke was the chief of police, and it was him that he was talking to. And nothing was ever done. There wasn't even a report filed.
Mhm.
Mm, mm, mm,
Sketchy.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but now, granted, I could not find a lot more information confirming that.
Okay.
And no disrespect to anybody ever for whatever reason. But a lot of times, when somebody we know, uh, something happens to them and they're found in this kind of way and everything,
Yeah.
sometimes people go or say yes, they want to talk to a reporter for clout, for the like 15
Okay.
minutes of fame type
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that.
because if that is true, if everything he said was true, you got into a fight, you identified him, you knew him by name, Rex Hewerman. That's who he
Right.
said,
Yeah.
way back in 2010,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like there's just a lot there. So you weren't pointing fingers at him then. Why now?
There's a lot of
Eh,
questions. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
if it is true and he didn't make a report, or James Burke didn't make a report, then there's a lot more fingers that need to be pointed at him,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So there's just so many conspiracies, there's just so much here,
Mhm.
and it is just bizarre, right? Because we don't hear about current serial killers.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even though this was, 11, 12 years ago when these bodies were found, you know, and the first one is dated back all the way to 1996.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
could he have been unaliving people this entire time and has gotten off scotch free until now?
Oh, I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
I have so many
Did
questions.
did the spot where he was dumping them fill up whenever the first body was found back in, what was it, 2010?
Mhm.
When the first body was found, did he decide to make a different dumping ground? Or did he decide to do things differently because
Mhm.
people were getting
Disposing
close to
differently.
him? Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially
there's so
after
many
that encounter.
possibilities.
If that encounter with this gentleman, whether
Sure.
it was a family member or a roommate, friend, whatever he may be,
Right.
if that was true, did he find another place afterwards? But I mean, he they found Amber Costello with um the other three victims,
Yeah.
on Gilgo Beach.
Well, yeah,
So
but on the flip side of that, he may have dumped her there at that particular point in time, but whenever he was alerted from his quote unquote friend,
yeah,
did he change
because
his
as
way
soon,
of,
ooh, that's a
yeah,
good point because
I'm just
if
saying.
that's the case, then if that guy did go to the police and talk to Burke, then did Burke give Rex a heads up like, hey,
Right.
somebody's onto you? They see
Right.
her, but he still had the truck. He still had the truck as of 2023, as of 2 months ago when he got arrested. He still had
Right.
that black Chevy Avalanche.
Right.
So that probably would have been the first thing I would have gotten rid of.
I mean, well, yeah, yeah. No,
You know,
granted, I'll give you that, but um, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking that if he had said something about the girl, or allegedly Burke, in our opinion, may have alerted him to the fact of that guy reporting on that. There's plenty of black avalanches out there. He could have. I mean, he
oh
could have,
yeah,
unless they had like a tag number or something like that. I mean, he could have like thrown that
let it
off,
in and
but
mm-hmm.
bodies keep if bodies were to keep piling up at this particular spot where she was actually found, I mean, it may call him into question, but if he changed his MO, if he changed his places of dumping the girls or whatnot, I mean, there's a thousand different situations that could have occurred after that,
Absolutely.
you know.
And I really hope that those families of those missing victims, whether or not it's 11 or if it's more,
Yeah.
I just hope that they get an answer, some kind of justice.
Absolutely, me too. God, this is such a crazy case, and it's spanned over such a long period of time,
Yeah.
you
Even just
know.
from the time that those bodies were originally found to now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And who knows what James Burke has been doing, what Rex has been
Excuse
doing,
me.
and then if there was a third or if there was another partner that was helping them in some kind of way, because
Yeah.
maybe they were just maybe they could have been too good to get their hands dirty, maybe they paid somebody off to help them. We don't
Right.
know,
Right. I mean,
and
and
that could have,
it
I mean, to link him to just three victims so far. I'm
mhm.
glad that he's in custody enough so that way he can't hurt anybody else.
Right.
But
Right.
I do hope that they find something somewhere soon to just, get some answers, some closure for the families.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Um, and I would love for them to look a little bit further into the Burke situation as well.
Yeah, because it's just there's so much there that is so sketchy for me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't want there to be any contradiction because he was a cop. I mean, that
Right.
shouldn't
Right.
mean
Right. Right.
anything.
Yeah.
Oh, because he's a cop, he can't commit a crime. I mean, he was fighting suspects that were involved in the case. He was, you know, impeding away law enforcement and FBI. I mean,
Right.
if that's
Right.
not a red flag enough,
Right. And just because they're anybody, not him, not just him, but anybody, just because they're in law enforcement, that is 100% not a guarantee that they're not going to commit a crime. That's
absolutely.
bullshit from the word
And the
go.
fact and the fact that he just got arrested a few weeks ago for
Shows
soliciting
you, yes,
sex.
shows you he ain't learned shit.
Yeah. So,
So,
I mean, obviously, if you're soliciting sex for somebody, who's to say that you're not hiring Craigslist escorts?
I mean, yeah, a lot of questions, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
questions. And
Yeah,
as more of this comes out, you'll keep us updated. Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Because I'm definitely really fascinated to find out more
Yeah.
about all of this because there's so many questions, and I'm sure there's a lot more evidence that hasn't been released to the public that
Oh, yeah.
we don't know about for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that was a little confusing, I guess,
Hmm.
is when his court date is. I read some places that it was later this year, and then some it was early of next year. So I'm gonna keep up on that
Yeah.
because that's what's gonna tell a lot more. I almost kind of hope that it's documented so like you can watch it, kind of like
Oh,
how the
yeah.
case,
Kind of like
like
the
how the
Murdaugh murders.
and the Casey Anthony,
Yes. Yes.
trial
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes. Yes.
everything. Like I
Right.
want to watch it. I want to watch his responses to some of this stuff. I want to
Yeah.
watch it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see about that.
Well,
But I
hopefully
will
it'll be
definitely
aired.
keep I'll
Yeah.
keep you and our listeners updated. But
Yeah. Because this is super interesting to me. And I would, yeah, I really want to see how this all pans out.
I do
Yeah.
too. I absolutely do too. But that is the Gilgo Beach murders.
Well, that was a great job. A lot of
Yeah,
information. Thank you for that.
of
And
course.
yeah, definitely. As you hear more, we can keep doing little updates on our regular episode
Absolutely.
if you feel like that. But so that is our case for tonight. And as y'all know, as our listeners, we have decided to do our little bit of banter at the end of our episodes because that seems to be the consensus. People who want to come in, listen to the case, and be done. Well, this is your spot. So we love y'all. Thank y'all for listening to us. And we're going to move into our us time. So,
Last time.
yeah.
So,
So,
how's your week?
it's been good. I, it's tried to cool off just a little bit, which I know that
Yes.
I know y'all, I know I'm obsessed with the heat and stuff like that, but I do work outside, so get over it. It's fine. Um,
So let me comment just really fast right
sure.
there.
Yeah.
So you work outside, so
Yeah.
this heat. There's a lady on my team, and I laugh at her every time. She lives in Chicago,
Okay.
and it's so funny. We had a meeting today, and she was like, "It's freezing here," and I was like, What's the temperature? Is it already freezing? It's September. It's 73. I was like, "Girl, get out."
Honey, come to the south.
Yeah.
I'll show you what 73 feels like in 98% humidity.
I
Whatever.
would love that right about now.
Me
73.
too.
The what was it last week? I think the temperature outside first thing when I woke up was like 60. I was like, "Oh, can it just stay like this all day? Please.
Yeah.
Please."
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I that was so funny.
So I got into a truck, I want to say either Monday or Tuesday. And now, granted, it was a black truck. It had been sitting in the sun most of the day. I went out
Mhm.
there to get in it and I put it on my Snapchat. I took a picture of
Yeah,
the temperature. And so you saw it. I took a
I
picture of
did.
the temperature inside this truck. It was 110 inside this truck.
What was Joey from Full House cutting me out?
I know,
Cut
right?
it out.
Absolutely. I am
I'm out.
out. Jeez, it has been awful. But we do have a little bit of a relief if you want to call 88, 89 a relief, which it is to me at this point whenever our temperatures have been 110.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just been hot and I'm ready. I'm over it. I mean, Halloween's coming up and
Mhm.
I'm ready for a little bit of cool weather, being able to have a fire outside, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm so ready. I'm
I'm
and I'm anticipating fall. Like I got some new wax melts last weekend. I got an apple one that's in our bedroom right now,
mm,
and it smells so crisp. It just smells so good. I got
yeah.
a pumpkin cinnamon latte one when you first walk in the house. So it I don't even know how to describe it, but it just smells like fall.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so ready for fall. Oh my God. I love Halloween, but Christmas is my holiday.
me too.
I love doing the I have a whole like Christmas village set up and all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And that is really my holiday. I decorate the day after Thanksgiving and we carry it through
Yep.
till, right after Christmas or whatever. But that is my absolute favorite. But Halloween brings in some cool weather, and I am all about it. I've got
Yeah.
a friend. I've mentioned her before on the podcast, Rebecca. So her birthday was this week, and her holiday is Halloween.
Yeah.
She decorates every room in her house. She has decorations on her porch. She has have you seen the like 12-foot
Skeleton.
skeletons and stuff like that? Yes.
I
Okay.
want one.
So so she's got one of those. She's got several different animatronic Halloween decorations that go in her yard every year. And I mean, she started it this week, and she had pictures online today, and I looked them up, I looked at them and stuff, and it is just so pretty the way that she
Yeah.
decorates her house and all the different things that she has. So fall is in the air, or it's trying to be, and I'm encouraging the hell out of it, because
Me
please,
too.
please, please, please
Mm-hmm.
let these leaves fall, let this weather cool down, and
Absolutely.
that's how my week's been. So what about you, babe?
Um. Uh. Well.
Okay. Okay.
Not a lot going on this way. Pretty much the same. Uh, there's just not. I don't have any drama this week to entail. I'm sorry, but I am going
Don't
on
be sorry.
a church conference this weekend. I'm super excited about it.
Okay.
Because my also excuse is I get to go to Target, and I'm excited.
Tarjay, baby, Tarjay.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right. I can't wait.
So are you getting your
Um,
car back? Have you heard yet?
I get it back this weekend,
Okay.
but not before I leave. I
Ooh.
have other means of transportation I am using. So,
So are you taking
but
Doug's car?
but it
Okay.
should be ready by Friday or Saturday, Lord willing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I
So
know
I
you're
hope.
excited to get it back.
God, it's 2 months. 2 months tomorrow.
Really? Gosh, it
I
doesn't seem like
know.
it's been that long.
Man,
I know it has for you, but
time flies when you're not having fun. Let me tell you, it's it has been a drag being just down to one car and five people. Like that is a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely really excited about it. Um, I have been reading a Colleen Hoover book, but to be honest, this one I'm on is just it's uh, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's called Too Late, and I'm on a Colleen Hoover like book fan club page group, whatever
Yeah.
monstrosity it's called. It's like
Okay.
the name is like 3 miles long on Facebook, but I follow it just to see because she has so many different books. So there's been
Right.
a couple I've read by her that I'm just like not the biggest fan of. But
Yeah.
the Verity book was like my top knot. Like for her, that's
That was
crazy.
amazing. I loved that book. I love that book.
So,
I did start speaking of nope, Colleen Hoover. I did start the book It Ends With Us.
oh, did
So,
you?
yeah, it's I'm on page like maybe 69, 70 something.
Yeah.
Um, but it's good. It's good. It's not very good, but it's good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Verity set the like bar for me. And
It
that's
said
not
it
like
really high.
yeah, and it's not like everybody's cup of tea. I get it. So I wanted something along those lines.
Right,
And
right, right, right.
on that page, kept seeing a lot of like people saying, like if you like this by her, then you're gonna like this. Da, 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 da.
Right.
So I got the Too Late book a couple weeks back. So I've been trying to get into it, and I think I'm on like chapter like 15 or 16. I haven't been reading as much lately. Um,
So they're
but
just
it's
not
just
catching you?
it's just really strange. Like
Okay.
like last night I was it last night or the night before? And I'm reading the chapters. I don't like short chapters. I do, but I don't. I
Right.
feel like and with Colleen Hoover, most of her books that I've read, a lot of them will be like this chapter is about this character and it's telling it from that person's point of view, and then the
Right.
next chapter it'll be a different person,
Right,
so
right,
you get to
right.
see the characters different points of view.
Yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
because it tells a different story between each character's point of view, right?
Right.
So I'm reading it and I go through like 4 or 5 chapters and they're all like 1 page long. It doesn't tell you a lot, but it's like 1 minute this girl's boyfriend is like super jealous because his girlfriend had lunch with another guy, and then the girlfriend is like super jealous because she's having lunch with another guy, and then the next chapter the boyfriend of the girlfriend, he's like excuse my language, balls deep in some other chick, which is his buddy's girlfriend. But he's just like, I was just like,
What the
this
fuck?
is, yeah.
What is
So
happening?
that's,
Jeez.
yeah. So I'm hoping, I don't like to start a book and not finish it. So I'm hoping the further along I get, that maybe some of this will make sense. I'm not
I
very
got
far
you.
into it,
I
but it's
got
just one
you.
of those things that's like, this
Eh.
is this
Yeah.
this a little weird.
It's not what I expected. Yeah.
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 We started in the gym this week. I've only done a couple of workouts, but they near about killed me. So
Okay.
your girl ain't been working out in a few years, but the only reason I really even started to do this is really just because I've become a couch potato. I snack all day long, and I used to love to go hiking,
Mm-hmm.
but now, I mean, as our house is like long ways, so like uh it's probably 30 steps. I won't say 30, probably like 20 steps to the kitchen. And I get out of breath. So I'm like, yep, we got to do something about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, it's a little much.
Yeah.
So I got to do something about that. But
I
that's
got
about
you.
the extent of my week
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just, business as usual, working all the time. And oh, my dog broke the window out again. Did I tell you about the last time he broke out the window?
Yeah.
Jesus freaking Christ. My dog. He's a pit bull. And ever since we lost my lab, Coda, um, he's had some adjustment issues because he was with her from the time he was a baby. She was like 2 years old when we got him.
Mm.
And so he's never been alone. So when she passed, he's been alone, left in the house because he's an inside dog. Um, he's been left in the house all day, and we've got him, some chew toys and things like that. But he is constantly wanting to, if he can reach. Of course, I have my trash can on my dryer so that he
Mm-hmm.
can't get to it.
Yeah.
But every now and then we'll have like a beer box or something like that sitting on the washing machine that he can get to. He'll drag it down, chew it up. Um, week before last, or this weekend before last, um he broke out a window while we were at the laundromat because my washing machine went out, so we had to go to the laundromat. He broke the window out then. This past weekend we went fishing on Sunday morning. Yeah, we went fishing on Sunday morning, had a great morning, didn't catch anything, but still it was just a good time. And then when we got home, he had busted the window out again. That's two
Oh
windows in
my
2 weeks.
gosh.
Two windows
Wow.
in 2 weeks. Mickey looked at me and said, "I am fixing to shoot him. I have had all I can take."
Mm.
So, but he didn't mean it. He was just he
Yeah.
was really upset.
The frustration. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got plexiglass
Yeah.
instead of real glass. We got plexiglass, and I put like a big piece of cardboard up in front of the window. I gave him like just a little bitty spot where he can look out, but he can't like actually get to the window itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it has worked so far. So,
Fingers
but
crossed.
and the amazing thing about the fact that he breaks windows out is he's never gotten a scratch. I mean, not this
Hmm.
last time, but the time before, he had a couple little superficial like scratches, but
Mm-hmm.
he has jumped out the window in my house 6 times
Wow.
over the past, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years. He's jumped out the window in my house, several, a couple different windows, but he's jumped out the windows in my house, those times, and has never had a scratch on him.
I don't know why, but I bust the windows out the car. I don't know why that just popped in my head.
Yes, yes. But he's laying right here beside me right now, just as sweet and innocent as a little angel, knowing that he's like a terror. But I think it's just the anxiety of being alone
Yeah,
every day and everything.
probably.
He gets bored and stuff like that. But every time I look at Mickey and go, he's just a dog. Mickey wants to take my head off because he's like,
I
I don't
know.
care. He's ruining my
Yeah.
house. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, it's
Yeah.
fine. It's
No,
fine.
I,
He'll
I,
get over
I
it.
mean, I get it. We don't have a dog or anything, but I definitely understand.
Well, when you have to dog proof a house like you have to baby proof a house, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but anyway,
Right.
I love him and he's my baby, so it's fine. It's whatever. But that's another thing we had to deal with. I had to deal with this week.
Mm.
But other than that, everything's all right. It's fine. I mean, it's same old shit, different day. So
It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. So that's going to do us for this week. I want to end with a thank you. Thank you all so much for being with us. Please go like, subscribe, rate, review, and join us on our Facebook group page, Murderers and Monsters, also on our TikTok. We have an email so you guys can send us ideas for future cases on your own personal true crime or your own personal true crime stories. Email us at murderersandmonsters1311@gmail.com. Or you can contact Shelby or myself by sending us a message on our Facebook group page. We would love for y'all to help us reach our goal of 1,000 downloads in 30 days. So tell your friends and families about us. Family about us. I've recently published 2 of our Patreon episodes on our regular podcast platform. So y'all can see just how crazy and off the wall some of those episodes are. For $5 a month, you guys can join us in our Patreon Frankenstein clan and get 2 extra episodes a month. Those will always be ad free. And if you join our Patreon, we will send you out some Murders and Monsters stickers. So come and join us there. Go to patreon.com/murderers and monsters and sign up to hear those. We also have a website that lists all of our merch. Get it for the upcoming spooky season or for your true crime loving peeps for the holidays. Until next week, monsters do exist.
Don't be a victim.
Bye, guys.